At the same time, you have illegal employers who would rather than be part of any kind of safety net, any kind of requirements for safety standards or for taking care of their workers, would rather use and exploit workers who are in this country illegally. Thea, what is the challenge of that part of the American labor market story for you and your union?
We absolutely need to protect the rights of all workers here in the United States, whatever their status, their documented or undocumented status, and we cannot allow unscrupulous employers to take advantage of and exploit workers who are here on a precarious status. And so I think that's, for us, got to be a top priority. We have to make sure that workers are protected, that our immigration laws and our labor laws are working to protect the rights of workers here. They have to have the right to organize a union, and we can't allow employers to use their status against them to bust unions and to fight against any decent increases in wages or health care.
So, Thea, you think that workers who are in the country illegally should have the right to union representation?
Absolutely. That's the only thing that can protect them, and that can also protect American workers, American-born workers, that if we take away the right to union representation, the right to have labor laws respected from undocumented workers, we really undermine all workers in this country. So that's important.
Go ahead.
Workers' right to organize has been lost in America. Employers and a weak labor law system have taken away American workers' rights to organize. Whether they're undocumented immigrants or documented immigrants, whether they're native-born workers, workers have lost the right to organize. And so what we need to do to restore workers' power against employers, to make it a fair, balanced relationship, is to increase workers' power, and that is to give them the right to organize. Undocumented workers don't reduce wages. It's employers exploiting workers, documented and undocumented, and native-born, that reduce wages.
But if employers can't exploit the workers, then there isn't a magnet for the undocumented workers. Isn't that right?
No question. But employers exploit Native American workers, immigrant workers, documented and undocumented. That's what has to be changed. And the immigrant workers that come in have always been a mainstay of our economy. We need them for employment. Those workers are here, they pay taxes.
You don't think that availability of labor, especially labor that's cheap, that's completely unregulated, drives down wages? I mean, we look at some of these numbers, you know, 4 out of 5 of the service jobs that were created over the past 5 years pay below $577 a week. If the growth is in service jobs and we need people to come and do service jobs, those aren't big paying service jobs.
Let me give you an example. A hotel housekeeper, mostly all immigrants in New York City, is a member of our union, makes $22 an hour. She has health care and a defined benefit pension plan. Her counterpart in Atlanta, Georgia, where there's almost no union hotels, makes $7 an hour, working for the same hotel companies, has no defined benefit pension plan and no health care. It is not about whether they're immigrants or not. Both those workers are immigrants. It's about whether workers have the right to organize, giving themselves power to balance an employer. That's really the issue. The truth about undocumented workers and immigration is that it's good for America. We've always had people try to blame another group for lower wages. Blacks were blamed for lower wages in industrial plants, but it wasn't about blacks, it was about employers. I want to be clear that on
this program, we've taken great pains to differentiate between legal immigration, which refreshes the nation and fills important roles in the labor market, and illegal immigration, which undermines the rest of that. You know, so, I mean, you say immigration, I'm thinking sometimes you mean legal immigration and sometimes you mean, you see immigration both as the same thing?
I see it as the same. We have 12 million, at least, undocumented workers in this country. They're not going anyplace.
And to you, that's the same as a legal worker in the workforce?
I think it is. Immigrant workers have always fed our economy, whether they were Irish immigrants or whether they're Latino immigrants. And we believe that those workers ought to be protected. That's how you not only help the economy, but that's how you help workers get power, by protecting those workers. It's employers that exploit workers of all types that drive down wages and benefits.
Thea, let me ask you quickly for the last point. You know, you can take that a step further and say all workers are the same, then why would a worker have to be here? You know, we have a concern now, some in the unions, about Mexican truck drivers, for example, being allowed onto American roads and doing the same jobs as American truck drivers do for much less and with less safety standards. I mean, you could just broaden out that argument and say all North American workers are equal.
Well, national borders do have some meaning, and obviously we don't have the same safety regulations for trucks or truck drivers, and anybody who's on American soil should be protected by American labor laws and American safety and health laws, and that's an absolute fact. And we'd like to improve and strengthen worker rights and worker protections in all countries, but in the meantime, the place where we have the most ability to do that is right here in the United States, and that's where we should get started.